com, and obviously they'll be dumped into YouTube and Facebook and Apple and Spotify and Amazon. And I still extend this to everyone. We are here to provide, hopefully, marketing strategies for you as well. So if you need a podcast or maybe like a video interview that would help build your business out, Yordell and I, myself and I, we'll put together a 30-minute interview with you, whether on Zoom or live, to build out your business and get yourself out there and get a video out there. And you could chop it up and throw it on the Instagram or do whatever you want to do. We just did an interview with a young gentleman yesterday at my offices in Philadelphia, a really nice young man, Cheyenne Patel, and we did a video with him, and he's going to chop it up and send it out to his Instagram, his TikTok, and it was just a lot of fun, and again, we're here to support you. We're the only group right now on Clubhouse, one that has a live podcast, one has our own website. Also, we extend complimentary strategy tools for all our listeners and followers. And we also now offer a nationwide CE course for licensed real estate agents to navigate asset-based lending and understanding the differences between traditional lending, hard money, and asset-based lending. So that's a 3-credit CE course that I wrote a book recently and got approved by NAR, and now it's being licensed in every state in the country. So it's a great recruiting tool or a branding tool, whether you represent an investor group, a RIA, or you're trying to recruit as a licensed real estate agent, or you're tied into an association with a realtor association, and we can work with you and obviously educate your agents as well in understanding asset-based lending. So let's thank now our sponsors this morning, which is Perkatech, Yordell Perkins, our social media strategist, or as I call him, the Oz behind the drape. He's been a friend, a business associate, and partner in business and just life as a friend for the past decade. I met him actually through a networking breakfast that I held every Friday prior to the pandemic, and we just stayed close. And now we're partners on the podcast, and he's such a great social media strategist. So I put a little extra time in talking about Yordell. We have Realty 4-in-1, which is Linda Pelagas, who's actually collaborating with me on putting together the event next week in Philadelphia at the MoMA Museum. She has a national publication. She has events in Los Angeles, Denver, Dallas, Fort Lauderdale, New York, Philadelphia. She has a couple more on her radar coming up in this year into next. Then we have MB Capital, which is our unsecured business line of credit referral program that we offer unsecured business lines of credit for real estate investors, real estate professionals, business to business. We typically get you approved up to about $150,000 in unsecured business lines of credit. If you have any questions, obviously, please inquire about that as well with me. And then finally, Landmark Capital, which I am the senior loan advisor at Landmark. We are providing 30-year fixed money, up to 80% loan to value on single family, 2 through 25 unit. We're offering up to 75%. We're DSCR lenders, direct balance sheet lenders. We also buy paper as well. We offer fixed to rent and fixed to flip value add, 1 through 25 units. We go up to 90% on acquisition, 100% on construction rehab, up to 75% loan to value on after repair value. We also offer new construction, where we go up to 90% loan to cost on median between construction and acquisition. We offer blanket loan or portfolio lending as well. Anytime you want to have a strategy discussion, I'm here to hopefully provide that insight and direction. So let's dive into what top states to real estate invest and why. So obviously our name of our club and our podcast is to create a BRRRR strategy. So we'll talk about BRRRR first and talk about the real estate market trends for BRRRR in 2024. The BRRRR strategy remains a viable investment approach in 2023, but it required greater diligence, adaptability, and strategic planning due to the changing real estate market conditions. In 2024, investors need to stay informed and ready to adapt due to the market headwinds and regulatory changes. Key for Burr is investors should be prepared for longer holding periods between refinancing and change their mindset into focusing on areas favorable for Burr investment strategy. Viability of Burr in 2024. Let's talk about some of the pros. Potential for cash flow from rental income, ability to build equity in portfolio with limited capital, economies of scale once multiple properties are acquired, leverages property value appreciation. Some cons in this evaluation. Lower property appreciation expected in 2024, making refinancing a little, you got to really understand what your after repair value is. You really need to know what your buy box is. Rising interest rates, increasing borrower costs. Now, the rates have been hovering around 7%. So if you're not using 7.5 to 8% is a bad number to see if it still works in the DSCR. Not sure if you're doing a right evaluation. Refinancing can be challenging due to tighter lending standards. It's not that they're getting tighter; they're getting a little more specific in the leasing, the taxes, the insurance, the DSCR, the appraisal, and the market rent. The after repair value and the market rent are going to be very, very important, requiring significant time and effort at each step. Now, there's another thing. There's different seasoning boxes. There's a 3-month seasoning program for refinancing and a 6-month seasoning for refinancing in the DSCR space. I'm telling you right now for a fact, the 6-month rate is a massive difference comparatively to the 3-month rate. The 3-month rate is at least um, probably it's at least a 3/4 of a point difference in the rate. And if you could hold out in holding it for at least 6 months for ownership, your rates are going to be somewhere between 6.75 and 7.125. If you really need to refinance in 3 months, you're probably somewhere between 7.5 and 7.875. There's definitely a big difference. So you really need to understand some of the cons there from a 3-month seasoning to a 6-month seasoning. If you got some bad brokers out there telling you there's no seasoning product, I don't know who they're getting the loan through, because it's definitely not through a DSCR lender. Carries risk like any overruns, vacancies, and declining property values. So you got to look at, are you in a declining market? Are you in a declining market? How do you find that out? You got to work with a lender that understands the markets. Okay? There's markets that are appreciating, there's markets that are stagnant, and there's ones that are decreasing. So you got to stay proficient with understanding the pros and cons to Burr strategy. Let's dive a little bit first before we go to our moderators. Some top states to buy investment properties in 2024. These are states that really the numbers are making sense from a proximity, from a migration rental, barrier of entry, uh, living below your means. Okay. Number one, South Carolina. No surprise there. I like that market. I think it's an excellent market in Charleston, Columbia. Some great areas there. I definitely like it. Idaho is number two. Another good market. We'll be out there this year as well. Number three, North Carolina. No surprises here. Charlotte, Wilmington, um, Asheville, all very strong markets. Florida, still a hotbed. I'm leaning more toward Jacksonville and Pensacola areas. I think those are better markets. Jacksonville's starting to pop real nice. Numbers are working really well. I love Tennessee. I love Nashville, Knoxville, Lexington. I mean, there's some really good markets out there, um, all strong on the DSCR, very good on affordability. Certain areas of Colorado, you got to kind of do a little more deeper digging, but it's number 6. Number 7, Arizona. It's a little stagnant right now, but I think there's still a lot of potential. Help. It's a very healthy job market. Indiana, number 8, a very strong barrier of entry, low tax base. Income tax rates are low too as well. Texas, a lot of heavy migration from California to Texas. Obviously, there's some border issues, very apparent and very visual. We'll see if that shakes out okay and Texas stays in that top 10. Some of the cities that you want to kind of stay away from and be cautious of. Illinois, the Chicagoland area is a little tough. New York City. West Virginia has a very poor state infrastructure. Michigan, kind of messy around there. Obviously, you got to be very cautious where you're buying. There's definitely some concerns in the surrounding areas of Detroit. funny enough, one of the states that says it's not so good, I like it. I like Wisconsin. Wisconsin wasn't in the top 10, but I really like that market a lot. A lot of people are moving out of the Chicagoland area and getting into the Wisconsin market. I like Milwaukee, like Eau Claire, like Appleton, or like Sheboygan. Some other markets you want to be cautious of: Hawaii. Um, so again, you got to look at the barrier of entries from the best states to the worst states. And the states that I'm referencing, they're hot because people like going there. They're friendly. It's a friendly environment to work from. You can work obviously virtual. It's inexpensive and it's cost effective. Now, there's obviously some other states that we're all in, but I really like those states that they reference as the top states to go into. Joseph, good morning and welcome. Brief overview: who you are, what you do, and thoughts to our discussion. Why? What top states to real estate invest, and why? And I know you do out of state and in state.
Yeah, good morning, Joe. I'm a buy and hold investor. I have properties in New Jersey and in Ohio. I also invest in tax liens in the state of New Jersey, and I do a little bit of private lending here and there. No, so listen, I I would argue that there's no such thing as a bad state to invest in, right?
Mm-hmm.
People will tell you that New Jersey is a horrible place to invest in because it's tenant friendly. And then you look at Florida, and I would tell you, well, I think that that's a horrible state to invest in because regardless of where the laws play, it's impossible to get insurance on the property. Insurance rates are through the roof, as well as Texas, as well as California.
Yeah.
So I look at it that it all goes down to your property management, your skills with the property management, or the property manager that you hire, as well as the numbers of the property, and that really dictates what makes a good deal or not. Listen, you're going to have problems eventually as you go down the road. Will you have tenants that are not nice to your property, for lack of a better term, going to give you headaches? Absolutely. And those will come down the road as you get your seasoning as a real estate investor. And then you talk about how quickly you get them out. Well, I mean, yeah, there's some of those issues too. But if you're doing your property management, if your property manager or you're doing if you're doing your property management correctly, then the bad tenant issues should be eliminated. I also want to get out there, right? Everybody starts off good to begin with too, and even good people have bad days, right? If the job market softens, they're not going to be able to pay their rent, and people are going to do what they need to do to survive. So, as landlords, we look at it that it's not the right thing for them to do, and I completely agree with that. But people are going to do what they need to survive, and just imagine if you were in that position, what actions you would take, right? And if there's no place to go, so you could also blame that on, we're not there quickly as society to get help to those tenants that are in need. So that's just my 2 cents, real quick.
Listen, I think we have some great markets right where we are. Pennsylvania, the greater Philadelphia area.
Yeah.
You there? Hold on. I'm back.
We'll keep going until he comes back in. We'll try not to talk so bad about him.
Hey, be nice, be nice. There he is. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
All right. So, Joe, you brought up some really good points. I think everybody should look in their own immediate area. I think there's opportunities always within 60 minutes of where you live. Okay. And it's a matter of how you buy. But I personally think the South Jersey corridor, I like the Delaware market. I really like the greater Philadelphia, greater Harrisburg market, greater Lehigh Valley market. I like that South Jersey, not Shore Point, but more Philadelphia borderlines. The numbers still work. They still work on the DSCR. Is there management issues and professional tenant issues? Is it tenant friendly compared to landlord friendly? Yes, but I see a lot of aggressive movements in those areas. I get a lot of business in that area, but I also see some great markets such as Oklahoma. I see great markets in Ohio. I still see Florida working. Depending on how crazy the insurance looks. Texas is a little rough with the insurance as well. I do like Wisconsin, like I was saying. I like Indiana. I like Missouri market as well. I think Missouri is a strong, silent, quiet market, not talked about heavy. And nobody's talking about Nevada, okay? There's massive movement from California into Nevada, not just Vegas, but the whole surrounding area of Vegas and Reno. People are not talking. You got to remember the best airport to travel out to in the world, not just like, in the United States, in the world is Las Vegas. So if you're working virtually and you're in sales or in some high tech job that you got to travel, you have accessibility to get to anywhere from Las Vegas. So understanding your market or a new market is very important, and building out a local maintenance team that Joe was talking about, using online tenant screening services, having local contacts, automating as much as possible, be easy to contact, perform routine inspections. You still need to go to these properties, even if you're out of state. Obviously, interviewing several property managers and visiting the property in person. You just can't do it from a video perspective. You got to be there. So, Joe, what's your thoughts to what I was just adding to, out of state landlording and some of the markets that we discussed?
Yeah, there's some opportunity within your own backyard, right? And start looking at it. And I see Shyam's up here, and I'm really interested in hearing his story because I know some of it, if not a good portion of it. Uh, and we start talking about out of state. But when you start talking about investing hours away from your residence, well, it's just as good as and you're still in the same state. It's just as good as investing out of state, right? So there's a lot of practices and processes that you need to put in place, as well as leaning on a team and building a team. And you have to be just as good at vetting a team as you do as your tenants, right? So I look forward to hearing that story.
Yeah, yeah. I met with Cheyenne yesterday. We met at an event that I was sponsoring up in the Poconos, and we followed up with one another. We had a great little interview yesterday afternoon. Had some really great chatting about just life in general and business in general. And then I made some introductions for him to some very good real estate agents in the market in Philadelphia and in South Jersey as well. So hopefully he'll be able to take that torch and run with it. And we'll get to his insight this morning here on the Creative Birth Strategies House. So let's keep moving on this. Let's talk a little bit about migration. If you're not following migration reports, you need to start following them now. Meaning Penske, United Van Lines, U-Haul. Where are people moving to? Okay, where are they moving to? Where are they moving from? Let's be honest, they're moving from the blue states and the blue cities where there's heavy crime. Chicago, New York, anywhere in California. I mean, hell, if you're in Oakland, you want to get out of town. If you're in San Francisco, you want to get out of town. If you're in LA, you want to get out of town. They're moving. We're talking double digits. We're not talking single digits. We're talking anywhere from 11% to 19% movement. Right now, the county of Bergen County in New Jersey has close to 1.5 million residents because of the influx coming in from New York into New Jersey. Rents are at a premium, values are at a premium, properties don't stay on the market very long. It's a very hot market where if you go one county away, it's a very stagnant market, Morris and Union County. So you need to follow the migration reports. You need to understand what's the common denominator and why. Crime, safety, barrier of entry, political environment, living below your means. These are all very important movements. And we'll be going to Timothy and we'll talk about why Lehigh Valley is so cresting so much and now Schuylkill County. And I personally think the next hotspot is Pottstown, which is being squeezed between Berks County, Lancaster, and Lehigh Valley. I think that's going to be the next, like Phoenixville, Malvern, comparatively to Coatesville. That's a personal opinion of mine. Timothy, good morning and welcome. Brief overview who you are, what you do, and thoughts to what top states to real estate invest in, why. And it'll give us a little insight to tonight's event with yourself and Garrett. And then we have an event coming up this Thursday as well.
Good morning, Joseph. And sorry to report, I didn't really have a topic put together for tonight's meeting with Garrett, so I do have to circle back with him on scheduling some of these things. So we may just have a pop up and round robin tonight with everybody to ask their questions to the investor, to the wholesaler. I'm Timothy Doyle. I'm a buy and hold real estate investor up here in the Lehigh Valley. And Joseph, yeah, I really couldn't agree with you and Joe Martella. More where some of the things are, where some of the hot spots are. If you see my suggestion, my recommendation is when if you're a beginning investor, look for places that are within an hour and a half drive. Like look for maybe, I hate to say single family, just to get your teeth cut on things, or if you want to do like a small multi and do house hacking, that's always a good option. Good way of getting your formalized education. When you're dealing with out of state properties, it requires networking, traveling, as Joseph had recommended. Yes, if you have something where it's going to um, need some rehab, don't just trust the pictures. Go out and see it yourself. I just taught a finding your business wise class to my place of work, the entire employee population, which is 30,000 plus. And one of the whys is, when you have an issue or when you have a problem, identify, at least observe the problem in motion, write it down, and then build out your root cause from there. Those are things that are helpful. Again, Joseph, some of the places out here, out in the Pennsylvania, at least the Pennsylvania market, I'll get to that. The Lehigh Valley, the Lehigh Valley still has some hot spots, but I agreed, it's starting to get, quite saturated. A lot of people have already migrated here from, the outlying areas like New York and northern New Jersey, places where cost of ownership is a little more, I can't say reasonable, but it's a lower price point for what you get. Your margins out here and out toward west, as you had mentioned, Joseph, like out toward the Pottstown area, out toward some of the coal regions, your deltas between profitability and what you would make are, percentage wise much larger, although you've got to keep in mind the demographic that are in those areas as well may not be fortuitous to some of the seasoned investors out there. However, places like Pottstown, I could see growing a little bit. It's in the past, it's been kind of a quote unquote depressed area. Now, Pottstown is, I can guesstimate about an hour and some change north of the Philadelphia area, closer to the King of Prussia area, which is a metropolis. You have the King of Prussia Mall there, which is the second largest mall in the United States. And it does have, the King of Prussia area does have a great commerce area. So that would be, that would be an area where an investor in Pennsylvania might want to look. Plus, property values there are still somewhat reasonable. Problem is, when you look at the crime rates in the Pottstown area or like out toward Reading, it may not be advantageous for someone to go there as an investor. So again, you have to look at some of those items, some of those points. I would agree with like the lower areas, like down toward Westchester or out toward Downingtown. You're between, you're still close to, now here's the kicker, you're still close to public transportation. Transportation will get you in and out of Philadelphia quite efficiently. They're not quite as efficient as Disney World, but it's efficient, and it's still not a very long drive time to get to those public transportation areas or depots. I was even thinking, Joseph, I hate to say, around like the Upper Darby area.
Yes.
At least those areas in Philadelphia might be a little more fortuitous and still cost effective. Even some spots in Philadelphia, I was pinged, I think about a week or so ago, about somebody who did an investment in the Upper Germantown area, and wanted me to not help him with some numbers, but give them some pointers and some key takeaways. Those are actually my stomping grounds, the Philadelphia area. So yeah, and Joseph, I couldn't disagree with you guys more about parts in South Jersey. Just depends on where in South Jersey.
Yeah.
Again, so all right, Joseph, that's it for me. Timothy Doyle, buy and hold real estate investor up here in the Greater Lehigh Valley, owner of Steel Hill Properties. Remember, if you can't buy it, steal it.
Thank you, Timothy. And I'll be seeing Tim and Garrett on Thursday. I'll be presenting my 3 credit CE course for licensed real estate agents. We have about 24 licensed agents up and above all the real estate investors that'll be in attendance there. They'll be getting their CE 3 credits toward their credits for the Pennsylvania state license. So I'll be there 6:30 in the evening on Thursday night in Macungie. So if anybody's in that greater Lehigh Valley area and want to come by and visit and say hello, love to see you there. Let's talk about metros that are attracting the most of out-of-state market search interest. Very interesting numbers here. Number 1, Durham, North Carolina, 62.7%. Number 2, Charleston, South Carolina, 60.9%. Number 3, Lakeland, Florida, 60.1%. Stockton, California, 57.7%. Number 5, Cape Coral, Florida, 56.6%. Number 6, Colorado Springs, Colorado, 56.6%. Number 7, Northport, Florida, 55.6%. Number 8, Bridgeport, Connecticut, 55.4%. Number 9, Greenville, South Carolina, 55.4%. Greensboro, North Carolina, 54.9%. The common denominator here is a lower barrier of entry, better tax base, crime stats, but also DSCR for investment. These are people are looking at. I can tell you for a fact that crime is not that good right. It's not the best in Bridgeport, Connecticut. But what I'm telling you is, it's the better barrier of entry for a real estate investor right now, because home buyers are not saying, "Hey, let me get up and I'm going to go buy a house to live in Bridgeport, Connecticut." It's just not happening. But I can tell you, our investors are trying to get themselves into Bridgeport and buy as many properties as they can, because it's a great Section 8 market and they can make a lot of cash flow and cash on cash return, and there's decent appreciation. I could also tell you a lot of these other markets people are going to, they're flocking to for better barrier of entry for home ownership as well as investment or secondary homes. Justin, good morning. Welcome. Brief overview: who you are, what you do, and thoughts to what top states to real estate invest and why. And why is Louisiana on the bottom of the barrel right now on attractive states? Come on, give me a little insight. What's going on there?
Yeah, definitely, man. Good morning. Great to speak with you guys this morning, man. I wrote a couple more notes this morning again, but I'll start with why I believe Louisiana is at the bottom of the map. I think Louisiana has been at the bottom of the map for a while. A lot of the political decisions we make here are, you know, they're more convenient to the folks who actually run this state, the few folks who actually run this state. Some of you guys may know Louisiana still has a lot of laws that are exclusive to Louisiana. I won't really dive into all of that right now, but so and then most recently, why we're performing very poorly is because, unlike, okay, us and Florida are both dealing with extremely, in California, but we're just talking about our area right now, extremely high interest rate hikes, right? So some people's property insurance has tripled. I didn't say double, I mean tripled, or even gone higher than that. And I have several references. I just won't bring them up right now. But imagine if you're a landlord and you own 20 doors in New Orleans, right? And your insurance goes from $2,000 a year, right, to about $8,000 a year. Okay, and this is a real thing. So I think that's one of the reasons we have trouble. The insurance, right? We have people moving away from Louisiana more than we do moving in. But if you look locally in your localized areas in Louisiana, for example, if I'm looking at what I'm doing, um, I'm getting in the path of progress, right? Because these areas of concentration in Louisiana are you can see them on a map. You can handpick them. You know, I'm gonna go. New Orleans are surrounding areas. Baton Rouge are surrounding areas. Lafayette are surrounding areas, right? Lake Charles are surrounding areas, right? Each one has a different strategy for it. And so basically, I would say Baton Rouge is a college town, right? We have LSU, we have Southern. Both of those are huge colleges and universities that attract a lot of students and a lot of national and sometimes worldwide attention. So that's a major concentration. You have in Baton Rouge, you also have a lot of people living, just doing your basic living, your plant workers, and your regular folks moving around, and then you have some families that are have make a little bit more money than everybody else. So you just kind of it's balanced. I like Louisiana because I'm looking at the rest of the country, how it's moving, how it fluctuates based on what's going on. And I'm looking at how consistent Baton Rouge is with regards to that, with regards to what happened during COVID. How much did our prices go up or down during those times? Yeah, they went up, and yeah, they came back down a little bit, but we're right back in the same kind of ballpark. And we didn't do a whole lot of fluctuation. The demand was the big thing. So if I'm a landlord and I'm looking to invest somewhere in the South, I like Louisiana because I can go be all in on a house for 75K, still get 12. If it's 3 bedrooms, still get $1,200 a month on this property. So I figured that strategy out. But in Louisiana, right? Because I'll get to why I want to look at Texas too. But in Louisiana, as I said about the fluctuation when things change, it's not changing enough for my long term growth for my portfolio. So I'm looking at Texas, right? Because throughout my lifetime, the exponential growth in a place like Dallas, in a place like Houston, right? I would realize much more potential on a property that I own in a place where the barrier to entry is similar, but but um my percentage of growth will be significantly more. One event can really change, right, significantly in a place like Dallas versus in a place like Louisiana, where I mean there's so many places to just build new. The demand isn't really going to be there. I'm not scared of gentrification down here in Louisiana, right? In parts of New Orleans, maybe pockets, but it's not. It's there. I think New Orleans is really the only place where we can compare it to other major metropolitans. The things that are going on in the city, the laws and stuff, and how they really affect. So I've been rambling for a while. And
no, no, stay on mic for a minute. Stay on mic for a minute, Justin. Okay, so listen. If I was going to invest in Louisiana and I'm an asset-based lender, which I am, and I'm an investor, but I'm not really in that single family through four family space. But let's talk about this. So let's say 2 through like one family might be too low for the national average for an asset-based lender. Most asset-based lenders want to see a completed value of 100 to 120,000, loan amount to be about minimum $75,000, right? But the two-family house through four-family, you're definitely going to hit 120 to 150 on two-family, and then you proceed up from there. So let's just look at the two-family concept in Louisiana in the three major cities you mentioned outside of New Orleans. New Orleans is kind of its own little catastrophe. I'll call it. It has its good and bads. Okay, so the other cities, a two-family house, I'm in there for, I buy it for 50 to 60 grand, put 40 grand into it, and it's worth 150. Is that possible in the state of Louisiana? And why would you go to Texas if those numbers work there? Because that doesn't work in Texas. So
right. Let's talk about my triplex, the actual situation that we both are familiar with. Okay. I purchased that triplex on LSU campus. You've seen the pictures of it. Mm-hmm. I'm standing in my driveway. I'm looking into Tiger Stadium. I'm looking at the mega screen in my driveway of my triplex. Okay. All right, I paid $45,000 for that triplex. It needs a full renovation and conversion to a triplex. I'm gonna spend $100,000 on that, so I'll probably be all in 150. My sub two appraisal on this, right? I sent you these documents.
Yep.
From the bank, Joe. So you got this. It's 278. So that's my sub two value that they gave me for 3 units right there on LSU's campus. Now, am I going to rely on that, Joe? You know my opinions on the bank's values down here. So am I going to really rely on that and really max that out? No. I'm going to try to be all in for 150, right? And I'm going to cash flow 9, 18, and the other one's gonna be a 2. So let's just call them all 9, 9, 18, 2,700. My note will be 1,000. Let's say everything all in is 1,000, right? So I'm a cash flow $1,700 a month. That's what I like about Louisiana. That's one property. Okay, now you got to do your research. Not a whole lot. You just pay attention. Okay, you can go to the hood, right? I was all in for one of my flips in 2020. Matter of fact, I was on Clubhouse for this too, right? This is when you and Shane were still in the rooms. I was doing a flip in a rough part of town, okay, and I bought the property for 27,000. I put another 28,000 into the property, so I'm all in barely 50-some thousand dollars, and it was 3 bedrooms, right? So I could have easily gotten, $1,000, $1,200 a month for that property, and I'm all and I, so that's what I'm saying. And when I go to Texas now, let me explain Texas. My play in Texas is this. Hey, it's a couple of things with that. You're gonna have to find a deal. So I'm not gonna be able to go to the place. Like let's say this is a C. Let's say this is a C area in Baton Rouge. I can't go to C in Texas. I might have to go to a D that looks like it's progressing to C. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I have to add a little bit of something to my strategy to get in the door. I may have to pay a little bit more, but over time, right? I'm looking at the curve on the graph, and their exponential growth is faster, is greater. It'll take a law, it'll take a change, it'll take Disney to bring in a new park, it'll take things that would happen there, right? That won't happen here. And so those things, right, make me, because I'm 33 and I'm still looking for my big plays that are going to set me up for life and set my next generation up for life. I'm counting on those in my Texas, right?
Yeah.
And I'm counting on my consistency in Louisiana. And so that's just kind of how I separate the two.
No, I get it, and this is how I'm going to segue from this from understanding what top states to go after. One, what is your affordability, right? Like, what can you buy? And like, if you could buy something at 50, 60 cents, a 50 or $60,000, and put 40 or 50,000, you want to keep that renovation cost under 100% of your purchase price. Now, to Justin, he's a licensed general contractor, so he can get a little more. I would say I don't want to use the word zealous, but I'll get aggressive. But he's in state. If you're out of state and you're trying to get into an out of state landlording environment, I would not take on a heavy lift on a renovation. I'd be say I'd buy something between 50 and 75,000. I keep my renovation costs under 45,000, and the back end value is going to be worth somewhere between 150 and 185. That's a single family, or they say it's a two family as well. I would buy a two family, say 75 to 100 grand, put 40 to or so grand into it. It's worth 210. That's a good loan. Because on the back end, from a DSCR perspective, at 1.2 or even 1.0, your property staying profitable, you built in a massive amount of equity in the property, even at 70% loan of value on the refinance. If you want to go a little aggressive and go 75%, your rate difference is going to be somewhere, about a half a point difference between 70% and 75%. But if you're not going to have any money in and you need to grab some money back out after 6 months of seasoning, of ownership, then it makes sense. And if you have a good property manager in place and you have, boots on the ground in that market, like a good licensed real estate agent, whatever market you're in, But Justin gave you an idea of like, hey, listen, those numbers really sound good in Louisiana. The insurance is very questionable. Same with Mississippi. I like Mississippi. It's not on any top migration reports, which I like. That means not everybody's going to it. Also, not a lot of people are jumping and run into Missouri. I think Missouri's a nice, secretive, little quiet little market, staying under the radar. Same with Indiana. Everybody's flocking to Ohio. All the fish are going there. I like to go where no, not all the fish are going to, because the numbers still work if you're buying it correctly, you're renovating it correctly, you're stabilizing it correctly. You're not trying to get crazy on the LTV on the refinance. You're trying to keep your DSCR in good spot. Great. I get you a max out LTV at 80% loan to value on the refinance, but if the place goes empty, you go bankrupt and you go into foreclosure. I don't want to feel that could potentially happen. I want to make sure you stay, one, moving forward, two, growing your portfolio out, and three, staying in good reserve base. So these are things that, like, having these discussions with Tim so far, Joseph, and then elaborating on migration in some of these markets throughout the country. It's all going this way. It's all going inward into people are kind of either going down to the middle. But I'll tell you, there's some markets in Nevada. I like Nevada. I'm licensed in Nevada. I wasn't licensed in Nevada for several years. I think everybody thinks when they think Nevada, they think Las Vegas. You got to think the surrounding area of Las Vegas, the surrounding area of Reno, and you got to think about one of the best airports in the world. Convenience. I could fly into Vegas like that. I could fly out of Vegas like that. That's a place where a lot of people are looking at it. Your barrier of entry is very good. Your tax base is very good. Taxes are as an investor, none of us are in this room thinking home buying. We're thinking investing, making money as real estate investors, as real estate professionals. That's if you want to talk about home buying seminars and first time home buyers, that's other rooms. This room, this podcast is on investing in real estate. We're hyper focused. You need to also understand who your tenant is, and your property manager needs to know who your tenant is. You need to understand and enforce strict lease terms as an out-of-state landlord. You got to establish clear communication with your property manager and everybody in your power team in that out-of-state landlord environment. Making friends with local service providers. Insuring your remote rental property. Inspecting your remote rental property. Setting up guidelines in understanding what inspections need to be addressed, what licenses need to be addressed. I always tell you, and I will always keep telling you, if you're going to buy in an area, why haven't you gone to a zoning meeting or a council meeting or a community meeting in that neighborhood? Whether in-state or out-of-state, you should get your ass there several times. This is very important, understanding the local laws and regulations. Making sure your property management company is working for you. These are very important tactical strategies, being an out-of-state landlord and understanding that. Listen, I could tell you all the top state places to be, but they all have the same relevant problems if you don't manage your property correctly. Good morning, Linda. How are you? Welcome. Brief overview: who you are, what you do, and thoughts to what's top states to real estate invest and why. And let's get a little update to Realty 411 Investor Summit in Philadelphia and Realty 411 as well.
Good morning, Joseph. Good morning, investors. My name is Linda Pliagas, and I'm the founder of Realty411.com. We're a news and information website which helps investors on their journey to success. Now, top states that we're seeing movement right now include Florida, Texas, Arizona, Nevada, Georgia, and North and South Carolina. These states are seeing a lot of activity, a lot of movement, and also they're attracting a lot of attention from investors right now. Now, so far, I have invested in 5 states, including Louisiana, where Justin is from. I have also invested in Arizona, Texas, and New Mexico as well. And I do live in California. I love investing in California, and let me explain why. In California, landlords can raise their rents by 8.8% in multifamily units to 10%. 10% is the average every year. Plus, California has historically appreciated 10% annually every year, year after year. So, folks, right there, that's 20% return on your money just by owning the property, raising the rent, and letting the appreciation ride. That's why I, like investing in California, and I keep buying here, even though I have ventured out to many other states. I've had good experiences and, some not so good. Overall, I have found a lot of good property managers, solid people who really do care about investors and really do want to help out of state investors. Um, but at the same time, I like being in total control, 100% control of our properties if possible. So now the furthest property I have is about 3 hours away one way. And I do have a property manager for that property because it is, 6 hours away round trip. So it's a little bit far to self management. In regards to migration, yes, people are moving out of California. A lot of it has to do with the financial and political reasons. Also, we have seen a surge in crime in a lot of the big cities like Oakland, Los Angeles. And I totally get it. I understand. That's, one of the reasons that we moved out of Los Angeles 14 years ago because of the crime. At 3 a.m. in the morning, a homeless man broke into our house and started, cooking breakfast in our kitchen. And it was very scary. He was big, it was in the middle of the night. And, I was always against guns and having guns, but I think having a rifle that night saved my family's life. And, thank God that, nothing happened. And he ran away. The cops found him about a block away. But after that experience, we got the heck out of Los Angeles. So I understand why people want to move away from the big cities of the West Coast and the East Coast. When you're seeing very lax limits for people that do crimes, and of course, you want to get the heck out of there and protect your family. But on a happier note, we are seeing a lot of people moving into California, especially pockets outside of the major cities. The Central Coast is a prime example. This is an area where I live. We're seeing an influx of people from all over the country because the weather's really nice here. The crime is very low, and it's just a really nice area. And you can buy a home in this market for about $600,000. You can get in to a 2-bedroom, 2-bath condo for about $320,000, or $340,000 or so. So still a very affordable area. So we are seeing people moving in from outside of California into California outside of the major metropolitan cities. And we're also seeing a lot of people from the cities move to this area as well. Now, the great thing about real estate, folks, is that you can find deals everywhere. So I would advise you to buy nearby first. And then once you have more experience as a landlord, once you have more experience, fixing up properties so you know what things cost, then you can venture out from there and do deals in other markets that may be more affordable but are further away from you. And you have to realize that insurance rates and property taxes, they vary significantly across the country. And these are the things that you need to consider when buying real estate before you buy it. So you really need to do research during your due diligence phase. Thank you so much, Joseph.
Thank you, Linda. And let's just get a quick update. I know we're cresting over 100 people registered. You think we're going to get a last minute surge, maybe about 20 or so people, and maybe some walk-ins to this great event coming up in Philadelphia at the Mummer Museum? What do you think? What's some thoughts?
Oh, yes, we're seeing a great activity. Lots of people signing up. We're really excited about it. We're going to have some fantastic networking opportunities, as well as great educators from around the country that are flying in just for this event. We'll have a breakfast, a lunch. I really do think we're going to see, more people signing up this week.
Yeah.
It's being also promoted on Facebook and Eventbrite and being advertised on numerous platforms. So I think we will see a surge in activity, and I recommend everyone come out if you can to this fantastic event. You'll have a chance to meet Joseph live, network with him, meet me, and meet a lot of other people that join us on Clubhouse on a regular basis.
So word has it we might get a sighting of Joseph Martella. We might actually have him conduct an interview with me on the podcast during the event. It's just a rumor, Linda. It's like a sighting of Bigfoot. We might see him, we might not. It's like an alien landing. You know what I mean? And hopefully he'll get to meet. He'll bring his best friend Boss as well to visit and be in attendance to the podcast. That would be good. But yeah, no, we're bringing all new speakers in. We had some great speakers last year. We're going to have another set of great speakers this year. And I really enjoy the new location because it's iconic. And to the law, to what happened with the Marriott Navy Yard, shame on them. They just didn't want our business because we gave them too much business in one day. I've never heard of that before, but hey, I digress. This place is just as cool or cooler. It's right down. We're actually having a mastermind luncheon on Friday from 12 to 2, right down the block at Moonshine Philly. It could carry over into a happy hour there as well. So, if you want to come by at the luncheon or you want to throw me a text or call, we can grab a drink afterwards in the later afternoon. It's literally right down the block from the Mummy Museum. And then we're going to have a great event at the Mummy Museum, 9 to 5, with great speakers. Yordell and I will be there with Linda. I'll be setting up and getting ready for the podcast at 8, by 7 a.m. So I'll be there pretty early. And then obviously we're going to video film all the speakers and then edit those presentations so we could have Linda and I could hold on to those to share out at time to time. We'll go till 5 o'clock, obviously, and then maybe we'll do another little brief happy hour over at the Moonshine Philly place again. That could be kind of cool. It's right down the block. There's plenty of parking. I know there's a reputation in South Philadelphia. There's not a lot of parking. This actually has a designated parking lot, which is really good. And there's another parking lot right down the block. So it's not like you're not going to be able to find parking. And I really look forward to it. I mean, this has been something that, I became friends with Linda several years ago during the pandemic. We had a mutual colleague of ours, Carl Chavone, out of New York. He made the proper introductions. We've collaborated on several events throughout the country. I had the opportunity to speak at the LA RIA Expo last year with Linda, which was really a lot of fun, and we're continuing that relationship here in Philadelphia. And I hope people really take advantage of the opportunity. I'll be giving away all the worksheets and taking my time to strategize with anybody that's in attendance, whether it's Friday or Saturday. I'd love to see you. And then we can talk about if you'd like to get a video done by myself and Yardell Perkins at Perkatech. We can do a customized podcast with you and promote your business and assist you in your growth in your real estate presence as well. So yesterday, it was a little beat from our podcast yesterday, 8 a.m. But I wanted to make sure I had made a promise to someone we were going to meet in the afternoon. We had met at a event that I sponsored uh, last week in the Poconos for a Pace Morby Subject 2 group. Great attendance, over 100 people there. Everybody was really, really very friendly. Cheyenne and I knew of one another, and he said, "Hey, I'd like to get together with you, do a brief interview." I said, "Sure, no problem." Um, we had a great conversation at my corporate my office with Yordell at the New Bold Exchange, which is at 17th and Snyder. We did a nice little interview. We talked about things. We just, what my why was, and a little bit about what I do and what he does. And we had a really great conversation. I think we walked away really understanding one another. He's a nice young professional in the real estate business. I think he'll do very well in the future. I think he's doing very well now. So Cheyenne, good morning and welcome. Brief overview of who you are, what you do, and thoughts to our discussion this morning on the Creative Birth Strategy House.
Yeah, everybody. My name is Sham. It's a little tricky to say my name, but you can call me Sham if you'd like. A lot of my friends call me that. And I actually am a real estate investor that started off in the wholesale realm. I started learning off from Pace Morby, and that was like maybe 2.5 years ago, I would say. And it took me about like 7 months and change to do my first deal, and I stayed really relentless to it. And ever since then, I've been wholesaling, virtually. And then I got bullied into doing deals in my own market from other investors I started meeting up with. And maybe about 8 months ago or something of that nature, I would say I bought my first rental. And it started to compound. And that was all in South Jersey. And ever since now, I'm on track to my 7th deal now. And it's a student housing in Glassboro. And I plan on scaling, a lot more where I can cross cover, and the cash flow just takes over. But very conservative. I try not to take any money out of my business at all whatsoever, unless it's just wholesale. And yeah, anything that I do get out of my rentals, I pour right back into the business. So yeah, I'm looking to scale as super as quick as I possibly can at this point. And I use other people's money to keep buying more and more real estate. But my market is South Jersey, Salem and Gloucester County. I will expand as I just get more and more rentals out there. But yeah, I mean, anybody has deals out there. I'd love to buy anything I get from my wholesale campaign. I never ever sell in that area. I always keep buying. And if it's just not a sweet enough deal for me, then I go ahead and see if anyone else might want it. And yeah, that's a little bit about me and how I started off. And yeah.
Well, Cheyenne, stay on mic for a minute. So what attracted you, like any other investor, whatever state you're looking at? Was it the tax base? Was it the rental, the Section 8 attraction of more guaranteed money in your market? Was it the insurance? Was it just the buy box and buying, how you're buying it, the renovation cost to the after repair value? What made sense to you to go into that market, Salem and Gloucester, and even maybe Cumberland County, and take that relevance across the country? You know what I mean?
Yeah, so I originally wanted to invest in Texas because I've lived there and I know the market there. And I was really opposed to doing anything in a blue state just because all my mentors told me otherwise. And ever since I got here and started actually networking with people in this market, everybody was telling me like, no, people are going to need a place to live regardless. If it's a blue state, a purple state, a yellow state, it doesn't matter. And so I started to look. I was like, I'd rather start making a move now instead of just like, prolonging this, goal of investing of mine forever and ever. And, when I do have enough money, I'd love to go ahead and start investing out of state with more experience as well. But as of right now, I'd like to stay somewhere that I can physically go and have control over things. And that's just where I'm at with my risk tolerance. But what really intrigued me about the South Jersey market is that I could actually find properties that I could cash flow on, like some of the properties out of state. And, as far as like getting people out of the units, like as far as evictions go, it was also a lot easier down South Jersey. And at least that's what I heard. And now I'm seeing that's actually the truth as well compared to, up where I live. And I have to drive like an hour and 30 to an hour and 40 minutes every time I go down there. So it is a drive and a headache, but I'm young, I'm energetic, and I'm willing to do whatever it takes, to make my dreams a reality. So I wasn't really, scared of driving that far. And a lot of people call me stupid for investing in those areas, but I don't see myself, like being stupid for investing in those areas because these people that do say something like that, they themselves don't invest in those areas, and they don't get the returns I get either. And so I like to take advice from people in my market that are actually successful, and they've all said the same thing. They were like, just keep your head down. Don't listen to all these guys that are investing in these A and B and A and B class neighborhoods by where you live because they're not even making money. And unless they stole the property, but that doesn't happen every day. So yeah, I kind of just put my foot down. I don't let these tenants control me, and I might be one of those mean landlords, but I just try to be fair. And look, I rent my place as well, and I see how it is. And like when these people ask me all kinds of favors and stuff, I don't give them leeway because my landlord doesn't do that. If I didn't, behave the way I was, then I'm pretty sure I'd be out of here too. So I just treat people the way that, I like to be treated myself. And it's been working out pretty well so far.
Sham, thank you very much. We had a great conversation yesterday, and you know what? I always learn something from a conversation. So I met a very young, confident, young professional man, and made some proper introductions for him right away. Hopefully, he'll take advantage of those opportunities, or they'll take advantage of the opportunity of them meeting him. Not it's funny. I can make all the introductions in the world, but for whatever reason, people just don't decide to make a move. Everybody likes to talk a great game, as Sham told you. There's a lot of conversation, but not a lot of bullet points. People love to tell a story, but they don't really like to get to the root of the facts of the scenario. And I know Sham can't make the Saturday event. Hopefully, he can make our Friday mastermind luncheon. It'd be great to have him there in Moonshine, meeting some fellow real estate professionals as well. I know Linda's sending it out to all the registered individuals to the luncheon. I am posting the luncheon as well in all our social media buckets. I look forward to working with Sham in the future and present, of course. And if I could be of any assistance, these are the professionals you want to surround yourself. The man drove an hour to sit down with me in Philadelphia. He said what he was going to do, and he did what he said. Right? So hold people accountable to what they're saying. Joe, do you have anything to add to Sham? And I know you met him briefly. And I'd love to see if you have any questions for him as well, and see where we're going with this on our discussion today. What top states to real estate invest and why?
Thank you, Joe.
Yeah. So one of the things that Sham pointed out, and it's really a major point, right? Especially for new investors, right? You're very impressionable, regardless of your age, when you're doing something new, and you're looking at someone who's experienced. You're going to be impressionable, right? So he had advice from mentors that said, "Hey, listen, don't worry about blue or red." When he was hearing from other ways, getting the ideas of, hey, a blue or red state, stay away from the blue states. Go into the red states. And then he has other people who telling him, oh, you're crazy for investing where you invest in, right? And I know where he's hanging his hat on his investment And I looked at his, when he told me of his portfolio, like it's really impressive. And he has established a network to make it work. Right? It's an area that I wouldn't go into because I just don't have the network to go into it. But he is established. He worked hard. He established. He's building upon the foundation. So, kudos to you, Sham. It's amazing what you've built at such a young age, and really proud to say that I've met you and I know you. But it's just a matter of what the story that he told. It's not just because someone is successful, they're to know all, right? It's just that's what worked for them, right? And it may not necessarily work for you. So take their ideas and kind of make it your own. And Shem, what made you like go 3 hours from your house, a 2 hour drive from your house to invest in an area? Was it the price point? Was it the cash flow? Was it what was the ultimate decision on that? I guess.
Thank you, Joe. My biggest thing was it all. Like, it all made sense to me. I mean, I didn't grow up in the best neighborhood either, so I saw some pretty horrendous things, and that's one of the reasons why I'm not scared of going to those kinds of neighborhoods. And when I found the deals that I found, I was honestly just going to stick to wholesaling them. But, as I told you, that I would, reach out to a bunch of landlords. They just convinced me. They were like, why even sell this to me? They didn't have the wherewith to take on the properties at the time, and they were like, I don't want you to wholesale this. Take it on. It's a crazy deal, and that's what made me get into that market. And before I even bought that property off of that landlord, even he told me himself that I just met him. I didn't even think that I was going to buy these properties or wholesale or anything. I just met him. I drove 2 hours just to meet him, just to learn about the area. And he took me in his truck and he drove me around. And he told me, this is where this happened. This is where that happened. I was 20 years old when this happened here. He gave me like the whole history, and he explained what areas are good, what areas are bad, what areas I should never even walk in. And ever since then, I really wanted to go into that market because I saw someone that I wanted to be like in the short term, maybe not in the long term, but and I really wanted to follow his footsteps at the time. And he was a good guy, and he gave me good deals on his properties because he knew that they were in horrendous shape just because of his situation that he went through. And he was really honest. He wanted to help, and he saw a young me in him, and that's why he did what he did to help me out. And yeah, this is all from a relationship. But yeah, it was a little bit of the cash flow. Well, a lot of the cash flow. Great purchase price, and I also saw a lot of growth in the area. And from other investors that I've also spoken to in the area, they've told me that they don't want to get rid of these properties, the ones that were really good landlords. And they told me why. And they said that anytime that they had any open property for available for rent, they would get piled up. Their desk would get piled up with applications, and there's just not enough rentals for the population that's coming out there. So that's why it was a little bit of it all. It seemed like the perfect market for me.
Thank you, guys.
Impressive.
Very impressive.
Joe.
Very. I mean, Joe. I mean, do you think that what he said, what Sham said, applies to all over the country, just wherever you're investing? I mean, do you think that's a very transactional thought?
No. What he said applies to wherever market you're in, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's that saying that talk is cheap, right? But what Sham did is he built rapport with someone, and I wouldn't say that the seller took him under his wing, but in essence, the seller there was some sort of rapport that was built. Sham comes across as a very genuine and reputable person, so they bought into him and they invested time into him, which that conversation has and probably will make Sham very, very, very much money, right? So no, kudos to you. It's just a 101 of presenting yourself, right? And wholesalers lose sight of this all the time, Joe. Like the wholesalers, and Sham was stuck in it, right? He didn't say it outright, but he was. he was stuck in, hey, I'm just looking to wholesale these properties, make that assignment fee, and on to the next. Until someone kind of like slapped it into him and said, hey, why don't you take on this deal? And I've done this with many wholesalers. Hey, why don't you take on this deal? But I can get a $20,000 assignment fee. But you can get $9,000 a year cash flow. In 2 years, you've made your assignment fee and your register's still counting if everything was to stay static. And, you know, that's another rat race that sometimes the wholesalers get in because, you know, you and anybody else here can tell you being a wholesaler is not easy, right? You're in that grind. It costs money if you're doing it right with the marketing and everything. So, no, it's just another rut that you need to kind of get out of as a wholesaler. It's a tough business to be in.
Well, right. Yeah, no, that was one of the biggest things as well. It was super inconsistent. You know, when I first started doing deals, it was a lot more consistent and less competitive than it is now. Right now, it's really really rough unless you do have a good amount of experience and a nice big system and teams built up into place. Even if you have all that, it's still rough right now. So yeah, I mean, what isn't rough is collecting monthly checks every single month over and over again forever, as long as you maintain and stabilize your asset. And so that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to build wealth and not just make today money over and over again.
Great stuff, guys. I really appreciate you guys taking the time to get very personal in what the mindset of a real estate investor should be. And we're going to have this discussion on Friday and Saturday. I'll be discussing real estate investor mindset and asset-based lending as part of my presentation at Realty 411 Investor Summit in Philadelphia. We'll be here again, though, Saturday morning, 8 a.m. and Sunday morning, 9:30 a.m. We are the only clubhouse room that has their own website, creativebirdstrategies.com, our own podcast, the Creative Bird Strategies podcast, the only group that offers complimentary educational worksheets to better pencil your deals down, to better educate yourself. And now we offer an accredited CE course on navigating asset-based lending in every state in the country and providing 3 credits CE to licensed real estate agents. So if you're a RIA investor group or tied into a realtor association and would like that 3 credit CE course, please reach out to me and we'll schedule that opportunity with your group. It's a great branding tool and recruiting tool if you're looking to either brand yourself as a real estate investor friendly real estate agent or recruit under whatever flag real estate office that you represent. So I want to thank our moderators here today. Great room on understanding why top states to real estate invest and why. I also put another article in there from Buildium on 60 top rental markets that they like, and that's one of the largest softwares for accounting for renters, landlords in the country. So definitely take some time to look at that link that I put in the chat as well. Everybody have a beautiful Sunday morning. I want everybody to have a great week. Knock it out of the park. And my quote this morning, one thing before I want to thank our sponsors. I want to thank Realty 411, MB Capital, Lenmark Capital, and of course, Perkatech with Yardell Perkins, our social media strategist. And my quote this morning, give yourself permission to live a big life. Step into who you are meant to be. Stop playing small. You're meant for greater things. Be well, take care of yourself, and we'll see you next week and on the streets of Clubhouse. And I'll be ending the room in the next 30 seconds.